Ryan, Fashionu. Oh, what a goal! Oh, that's a magnificent goal! Didn't seem to be the room between Ray Clements' hand and the post. And John Bond still wants to make a defensive point at cover as the crowd applauds. Surely one of the best goals I've seen at Carrow Road this season. Really sweet turn by the tall man.
He's come out publicly and said his sexual preferences. You know, I mean, what? Every footballer can come out and say they like women, they like men. That's nobody else's business. So now he'll have to suffer the consequences. But I wouldn't like to play or even get changed in the vicinity of it. That's just the way I feel. So if I'm like that, I'm sure the rest of the footballers are like that.
I think my earliest football memory actually is of my dad going to football. He used to be a big Plymouth Argyle fan, and I went to football with him. And actually I left Plymouth when I was 5, so I must have been about 4 or 5 years old.
Well, I've always loved football, I used to play in our park in the back of our old house with all the boys, because it was just boys then. And then when I was 14, there was an actual ladies team that started, so went and joined up and never looked back.
Just for a school trip, we were invited up to Southampton to watch one of their Premier League matches. I think it was Premier League, it's been so long ago. And from there I just kind of took football as a sport which I wanted to be involved with. Maybe not playing because I'm a big lump, unfortunately. But no, I enjoy watching, enjoy playing. It's just that nice pastime to get through life for me, I guess.
My first football memory was actually watching it when I wasn't into football. It was the big England-Germany Euro 96 semi-final. I was doing a jigsaw puzzle in my front room whilst my dad and my brother were watching the game.
Although there's all sorts of abuse, and I would say that football hasn't managed to really even start tackling that level of abuse, and homophobic abuse I just think is something which to some extent seems acceptable, so people just don't challenge it.
People learn by listening, watching, and I think it was just the ease with certain chants with just I watched a game a while ago where the defensive line held just touched tips of fingers just to make sure they're right distance between each other, and the chant was, "Does your boyfriend know you're here?" It's an easy go-to slur, and that's what needs to be changed. It needs to be stamped out and not made normal.
I just think it's an easy thing to say, isn't it? It's not really linked to anyone. It's just an easy way to kind of diss someone. And stereotypically in ladies football, that is what it's linked for. If you're in ladies football, you are gay, supposedly.
Reason I can think of is that people who aren't LGBT tend to get a little bit offended. That's one of the things they get offended with more easily. So I would say it is intended to insult, more looking for a reaction. So therefore that's the easiest thing to say to get a reaction from someone.
ladies team, it's kind of stereotypically you are gay if you play ladies football. So you probably wouldn't be as worried to go into a team as a guy would, which is not as socially accepted. Still even now, it's not kind of, people aren't as open as it would be in a women's game.
I think because it's already in place and there are lesbian players in teams, that it is a normal for them. So obviously I don't want to use the word normal in a sense that that's just how it is, but that's what we're used to now. So we're used to seeing female players with their partners, and it's maybe a little more accepting because that's what people's perception of a gay female would be, is to go and play a manly sport like football or rugby. But then that's what we need to change. We need to see football, rugby, tennis, any sort of sport as just a sport and not what type of what gender can play.
I think there has been an acceptance within female teams that they may well have a significant number of gay women who are participating in their sport, and I think that has not been a big issue. I still think it's a huge issue in men's sport, and especially in what I would call men's tribal sport, which football very much is.
I think the law change has helped in a sense that people now know what they can't get away with, because there have been certain times where you would hear these gay slurs at football matches, and stewarding and police would obviously do their best. It's not guaranteed that they're going to stop it, but with reports coming out from places like Brighton, which is obviously a heavily LGBT based community, to have fans attacked outside of stadiums and basically singled out by even their own fans, knowing that action is taken on those events that have come about is definitely helping the situation, because we now know that the police, stewards, the FA will actually take action, and hopefully in time it won't be an issue at all.
There's a lot more people are a lot more open-minded now. There's obviously, you're always going to have that kind of age range that doesn't really, I don't think they don't accept it, they don't understand, because it wasn't a thing then. But now, yeah, I guess so. Definitely more accepted generally, but maybe still not. I still think for guys it's harder. It's harder for them to kind of come out, I guess.
Whilst it is a cultural thing, the fact that the laws have come in have made it much more widely accepted. There will still be groups that, no matter what, just will not accept it. So there will still be people around who will be in a group that, no matter how legal it becomes, they just won't accept it. But back when it was illegal, it was rejected by 80-90% of people. But now less than 5% would be against it.
Attitude may not be enough to kind of maybe give that kick and swing that is needed, which is why obviously like Argyle here, we have Argyle Pride, Exeter City, Proud Grecians, even Premier League clubs, they have their own LGBT supporters group to try and make sure the stadium is safer for these fans to come and enjoy the game and be part of the wider fan base. It's not the fact that we want to single out the LGBT community, it's just we want to make sure that they feel comfortable and safer to mix and mingle with everyday fans.
I still think it's still a slight taboo within the professional, but I still think that once one comes out and remains playing, i.e. doesn't come out as gay or bi and then retire, or come out after retiring, as some of the more recent ones have done, that it will then start to be accepted. I actually think that it would reduce the amount of homophobic abuse that player gets, because more often than not, as I said before, I believe it's to try to get a reaction. They are not going to get a reaction from the player if they've openly admitted it.
And I suppose the thing is, who would want to be the first person to do that? because my experience in school is that when somebody is in that context and does become quite open about their sexuality, it comes with some significant difficulty. And I think on a national level in football, they're yet to see that challenge and that breakthrough.
Everyone who's played in a football team will have played with at least one LGBT person within their team. They just probably haven't admitted it. So it's in the women's game, as more women feel comfortable expressing and being honest about their sexualities. It seems to be more accepted within the women's game, simply because more people are open about it within the women's game. Personally, I don't think the numbers are all that different between the actual number of LGBT players in both men's and women's. It's just the men are a lot less likely to admit it, in my opinion.
A lot stems in school. I think to be a young out gay person in school is still a very difficult thing to do. And if you look at situations of role models, there are no out gay footballers in the Football League. There are plenty of out gay female footballers, including, I think, in positions of responsibility. So either in coaching, I believe the England women's captain in recent times has been an out gay woman. So I think it's a completely different cultural thing between females and female sport and men in football.
Growing up, this is one of the reasons why I came out considerably later than I probably could have. That because I like football and play football, I therefore couldn't be gay. So yeah, that was interesting teenage years as a result.
But over here, you're brought up as a footballer in the men's game you're conditioned to be a man, so you're conditioned to be hard, rough, tumble, and to have that, tag of an LGBT player on top of you would maybe seem that player's less of a man, which obviously we know is not true.